This is Spoiler Country, a podcast about comics, movies, whatever, but mostly comics. Enjoy.
Previously on Spoiler Country. Yeah, it was all tits and ass. It was all, ooh, look at this.
You had Spawn, and then you had Spawn. That was about the only thing you had to read. Okay, welcome back to Spoiler Country. I'm Kenric Regan. That is Johnny Horsley over there. We are a podcast about mostly comic books. We like to talk about other things, but it always comes back to comic books, right?
Every time.
Every time. And I think we've actually said this. Today, on the docket, we're going to talk about Tart. And who is the man that created Tart, Johnny?
Kevin Joseph from Catch-All Comics.
That's right. This was a very interesting book. It was not what I was expecting, which was a pleasant surprise.
I agree. It was. I went into it thinking it was going to be one thing and came out of it completely different, which was nice.
Yeah, when you see the marketing and you see the posters and you see the pictures of Tart Acid, that's the main character's name, you have a very specific idea in your head of what this is going to be like. And in my mind, it was Dawn. You remember Dawn from the 90s?
Oh, yeah. Joseph Michael Linsner's Dawn, yeah.
Yeah, that's what was in my head when I saw the posters and everything going on.
I can see that, yeah.
And so when I opened up the book and started reading it, I was very much surprised that it was a very sound and unique story that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I did too. Like I found it, how we came across this book, because I found it on Kickstarter because I was looking for interesting comics to back, and I came across it, and I'll be honest, the reason why I backed it is there's the drawing of Tart Acid with the smoothie drinking it. I was like, this looks really cool. I want to see what this is all about. So I backed it, and then I ended up becoming on to Kevin's email list where he was talking about Sandman and talking about the comic and stuff, and then he's going to Comic-Con, and then we got to go to Comic-Con. So a couple episodes, we actually talked to him on, we actually talked to him at Comic-Con, a little short review about Tart, so you've probably heard about it, I was talking about before. So he gave us a copy of the first 3 issues to read and to review and go over. That's kind of, we read it. I read it first. I was like, hey, Kenric, you got to read this. It's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. The best way to describe the story is, I'm just going to use the quote from his website, which is, it's like Buffy if the hero had to find the demons hiding in time.
Yeah, it was really a neat concept. I mean, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how to go about reading it. And it kind of just goes right into the story.
It just jumps in.
It just jumps in. Yeah, there's no waiting. There's no build-up, which I actually kind of like because it just gets going. And then you start getting the nuances, not the nuances, you start getting the backstory as it goes. Not even a backstory. You just start getting an understanding of what's happening as it goes.
Yeah, he does a great job of weaving in that what's going on without having to do a whole section of exposition of explaining everything. It's kind of just weave naturally into the story as Tart's going through doing her things.
Yeah, but he's left it open really well for backstories, and so you can have a lot of pre-story stuff, and you can have a lot of posts. So there's a lot to the universe that can happen within this.
There is. And we read the first 3. I have issues 4 and 5 that I'm going to be reading here pretty soon. And I was talking to Kevin last night, and he's doing another Kickstarter for issue 6 come September.
Oh, great. I'll definitely back that.
Yeah, I'm going to back it because I want to get it, and because I'm going to read issues 4 and 5 as soon as I have the time to. I got started reading it. I just got entranced with it. I just kept going. I didn't want to stop, and I just read the whole thing. The first 3 issues just all in one swoop. And by the end of it, I was like, this was good. I want to read more. And I would have read more if I wasn't, had to stop and do other things with life.
So who's Tart Acid? Tart Acid she's a character. She's a redhead. She looks young. I'm not too sure how young she is and how long she's been doing what she's doing, but it seems like she's been recruited by some type of group that sees something special about Tart, and amongst all the people that they end up recruiting and what they can do. She's not your normal person. She has some abilities that make people very nervous for her to be around. And when
when
she makes a threat, it's taken very seriously. There is people that allow for time jumping to happen, and she literally jumps into their body. That's the only way I can. It's like you see the cosmos. Yeah, you see the cosmos within them, and then she jumps in and goes to wherever she needs to be. It's
the way that was drawn was so good.
Yeah, the art in it was unique. I liked the way that it was. It wasn't It kind of reminded me of American Pop. Did you ever watch that movie?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. So Ralph Bacon Bass, you know who he is?
I know the name.
Okay, so Ralph Bacon and Bass, and now I can't remember. They did the original Hobbit cartoon.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Okay. They have another movie that's around rock and roll. It's called American Pop. You should probably watch it. You might actually really enjoy it. And the art it's not the same. It's just, I felt like the vein was there. You know what I mean?
Right. It captured the moment of it.
Yeah, it's esque. It's American pop esque in the art itself. But you'll probably read it and go, "You're insane. That's nothing like it." But that's what it reminded me. That's what came to my mind when I was reading it. Not the story in any way, just the art itself.
Right. Okay. It's funny. The art's done by a guy named Ludo, who's out of France. So it's interesting because the art's very. It has this European feel. To me, it has a European feel to it in the way that he picks the color tones and the way he draws the characters. It's interesting having this, feels like an American story done with the European art feel to it. Because to me, there's a difference between European art and American art. Just the way things are drawn and the way colors are done. And it's a good combination.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Or not an idea, but that's an interesting concept. I don't think I've ever really correlated those two like that. But it makes sense. I mean, people's worldview and people's, the experiences completely changes the art of what they're drawing. Well, it changes the way they do their stuff. So that's an interesting concept. Yeah. I don't think I've ever put those two together.
So if you look at the company Europe Comics, the company that did Valerian and stuff like that, and you just look at the art and the color schemes and the way things are handled in, say, that book versus the way it's handled in a mainstream American comic book, you can definitely see similarities, but you can also see where things are changed, where things are pushed differently, where things are drawn differently. In European art, like this book with a name like Tart and the way it looks, I really thought there was going to be some like overly sex scenes.
That's what I thought. That's what I was.
So you look at the art and the name Tart and you get into it and you think it's going to be a book that has, my thought was it's going to be like the 90s book, overly sexualized.
Exactly. That's why I said Dawn. That's what I thought.
Exactly. And you get into it and
nothing like
it's
that.
Not, but there's one of the things you see in European art is they're less worried about showing like a nipple or showing a little bit of nudity if it flows in with the story versus an American comic.
Well, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, is there a little bit of nudity in this book? Yeah, if you look for it, but does it affect the story? Does it change the story? No, it makes sense for what's happening in the story. So it doesn't take away or take you out of the story, or it's not just there for eye candy.
Right, that's the difference. It's not there for the eye candy. It's there because it's just part of.
Right.
It's just life. There's a big difference.
Right. There was one scene in the story that when I started reading that scene, I was like, oh no, here it comes.
I know exactly what you're thinking of. I was thinking the same thing.
Yep. But they handled it so well. Like it was, the season when winter changed to fall, I thought it was spring. Okay, it was into spring. I was like, oh my god, here it happens. This is gonna be the titillation scene, and it was done.
Yeah, it was done in a really cool way, and you were just like, oh, that was really in an innocent type of way.
Yeah, really, very much so, and
innocent. It was done in a very innocent way.
Yeah, it was. It was done tastefully too. I mean, I looked at it and I'm like, oh, that makes sense, and it flowed with the story, and it fit with what was going on.
You know what I like about that book too is that he doesn't over-explain anything. It makes you wonder what exactly is going. Like the whole season thing is so different. You're like, wait, what? What is going on here? Because 1 minute she's in modern society, as modern as it can be from the 1940s or 1950s or whenever that is.
1950s, yeah.
And then the next minute she goes through and she saves a kid from hell, from a demon. That was really cool. Yep. And it was different, It
was cool.
And then the next minute she's, in the Ice Age, saving a family from starving, a freaking family of cavemen.
Right, exactly. And it's like,
it bounces around. And I think the way that he's created this character, it allows him to do, they should not have to run out of ideas.
Oh no! And just to step back a second, that the story where she goes down into hell and deals with the demon and this kid, too much quick because it's just done so well. But it wasn't what I expected to see a kid in hell for,
Right. It was shocking. You're like, I mean, it was shocking. It was shocking actually because I was like reading it. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, it really was. Not to jump ahead, but I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. Another shocking thing was the end of the third book. I was like, wait, what? And it just how they just kind of. It ends it to where it's open-ended, but there's more going on, and there's just not what I expected to come back when they got to that point.
Yeah, I think it was like 100 pages, and you know what? It didn't feel like 100 pages.
No, I blew through it real quick.
I blew right through it. I was like, bloop, 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 and I was like, oh my god, I'm at the end. You know what I mean? And it was just, I don't know. It's a really fun read. I really hope that he gets. I really think like an IDW. No, maybe not IDW, but I really think an Image. Like that book would do so well at Image.
Yeah, it would. That book would be a good seller at Image.
Or even a Vertigo title. I don't know that Kevin would want to give any kind of creator position up, because it's creator owned, to get it out to the masses like that. I just think it would go really well. It's just a fun character. And, to find out there's more people like her and that she has an office that she reports to and, they're manipulating the timeline and they're trying to, I think So my feelings of when I was reading the book is that she is specifically going to certain time zones to keep a timeline intact. Like these are events that make sense over the overall timeline, and that she has to do certain things. But volume 1 ends with them saying, "Hey, we got to take a break," and she's like, "Well, what about all this stuff? They're just going to fend for themselves at this point." And you're like, "Wait, what? What does that mean?" And I like that.
I'm eager to jump into issues 4 and 5 to see what happens.
Yeah, is she going to go
next.
off on her own? You know what I mean?
Right. I don't know. I want to jump into them. Who do you think should read this book? Like, if you're interested in who should read this book?
That's a tough question on this book, because I really enjoyed it. I think, you know what? I think if you're a sci-fi fan, I think if you liked, I don't want to say Quantum Leap, but if you like Quantum Leap,
I thought the same. I thought the same thing while reading it too.
Yeah, you probably would like this book if you
Sliders, like Sliders.
If you like Sliders, you probably would like this book. If you like the show on CW, Legends.
Oh, Legends of Tomorrow. Basically, if you like time travel books and you like strong female characters and protagonists, this book's for you. It's drawn beautifully. It's written well. It deals with time travel. It deals with demons. It's just executed well.
A little bit of everything, man. It's got action. It's got adventure. It's got sci-fi. It's got elements of horror. He's put a lot into this book. You can tell he's thought really long and hard about what he's creating here. And it shows. The sweat is there, and it shows.
And for those out there who are interested, Kevin has given us a link for you to go to and sign up for his email list, and you can get the first 3 issues for free if you go to catchallcomics.com/read Tart.
Yeah, that's KECHAL comics.com. Read Tart, Tart. So check out Tart from Catch All Comics. Kevin is a great creator. He's done a really good job here. And now that we've gone through our slight review, let's see what Kevin has to say. So we got Kevin Joseph on from Catch All Comics, the creator of Tart. If you haven't read it, you need to get out there and check it out, because it's a really unique and amazing story. I got to tell you, Kevin, Johnny sent me the copy to read, and it was not what I expected.
All right.
Based on the marketing and based on what you had, to be honest, I thought I was going to read like another Dawn knockoff. Okay. From Dawn from the 90s.
I
Remember
have
that?
good news. I cannot knock that off because I don't know what you're talking about.
That's even better. But it was literally a pleasant surprise reading that book. I wanted volume 2.
Well, we're working as hard as we can. We've got issues 4 and 5 done, and we're kickstarting issue 6 in September. So once we finish that, we finish issue 7, and you'll have your volume 2. But issues 4, 5, and 6 are going to be available very readily very soon.
Oh, that's perfect, because they're such a unique story. How did you even come up with this character?
It started out, the artist on that book is Ludovic Salé, and I met him through a friend who I met her on my honeymoon, which is the best way to start a story. Neil Gaiman was having a signing in London the same week my wife and I were going for our honeymoon, and I looked at her and I said, he's an Englishman from Minnesota is going to be in England and London the same week we are. Can we go? And she's like, yeah, I don't care. So, half of my luggage going to London was Neil Gaiman books for the signing. That was great. That's awesome. So we got there real early, because I know if you don't get there early, you stay forever. And it was a cold, blistery, I think it was in March, beginning of April. And actually, just to give him props, Neil Gaiman actually sent out hot tea to everybody who was sitting in the cold to sign for him. So one of his assistants.
Proper.
So proper. Such a gentleman. So, and you're there for 2 hours before the signing. You get talking. You have a common. You're all fans. So, this one girl knew a bunch of artists, and about a year and a half after that, she emailed me and she said she had met Ludo. And he had these characters that he was stuck on. He had written himself into a corner, and he didn't know where to go. And the characters were time travelers. They were demon fighters. But it was more of a sitcom type of a feel. Like, it was very zany and all over the place. And I had no idea what to do with it, but I saw his artwork. And, I mean, it's just, he's so beautiful. Like, I was like, I can't believe I'm going to miss this opportunity. And I went to bed, and I woke up at, I believe it was like 3:45 in the morning, and I had this image of a young girl waking up in an alley, and she had no idea where or when she was, but she knew there was a demon she had to find and stop, and that's all I knew. And from there, it was just, let's find this particular plot for issue 1. And I wrote the script, and it was sort of like an audition to Ludo. Like, hey, this is the way I will play in your sandbox. Do you like it? And thankfully he said yes, and we've been working on it.
Well, I got to tell you,
awesome.
the twist at the end of episode 1 or of issue 1 is great. Yeah, it was like you're expecting it to be like a generic demon, and then to find out that it was a complete flip on what was going on, you're just like, that was really cool.
I was probably 2/3 of the way through it when that came to me, and it just became, okay, so I feel like I'm working a cliche here. So my 2 writing gods are Neil Gaiman and Joss Whedon, and if you're familiar with their work, what do? They show you a cliche and they turn it on their head. And I was like, okay, I don't know that I can do this much because I'm not a genius like them, but I've got one.
That one worked out really well. I mean, that was beautiful. I loved it. I think my favorite part though was nice. Yeah, I think my favorite part of the twist was I mean, we talked about it in the review we did, but the winter twist, or what happened, how that panned out, it was not what I was expecting when I started reading that panel. I was like, oh, here's the scene where I'm going to be all, oh no, with, oh, here comes a gratuitous sex scene. And it wasn't that way at all. It came out very organic and fit and was done very well.
I think that a lot of that has to do with what Ludo brings to the table is he's a Frenchman. He is very comfortable with sensuality, but I can give him things, and the way he draws, he doesn't. It isn't gratuitous. It's sexy. It's sensual, but it's not gratuitous. So I think in the hands of, I think he protected me and what I wrote with the skill he brought to the page. But we don't want to. We want to be sensual. We don't want to be. Well, I mean, I don't know. Some issues might be sexual, but. We want to zig when you expect us to zag.
Right.
Appropriate gratuity is always
yeah.
Because you never know. I mean, sometimes it's good to see it just kind of happen because that's how life is,
I want men who like to buy comics with attractive women on it to read it and enjoy it, and I want young women I want women, not young women, but I want women who want to see a kick-ass woman with agency who takes care of herself to read it and like it.
Yeah,
so
she's definitely a character that can take care of herself.
Yeah.
It was really neat to see how she unfolded. The color palette that guy uses is tremendous.
The fact that he's not coloring for Marvel or DC right now is a travesty. He is a genius with color. It's the work he does is so beautiful.
Yeah, it looks really nice. It was like I said, it was just a fun read. I didn't want it to end. I want the next issue.
Oh, you'll love issue 4 because we send the girls to a tropical paradise and their boss goes to hell. So if you want to talk about color palette, going from hell to a tropical paradise in the water, oh, it's a beautiful.
Oh, that sounds great. It's that art style. What does it remind you? Does it remind you of something from a long time ago? Because I couldn't help, and I don't think that they look anything like each other. You know what I mean? But I couldn't help but think of American Pop the whole time I was looking at it.
Well, specifically issue 1 or the entire 3 issues?
All 3 issues, just as an overarching feel. Not the storyline and not the and not really, but that's what kept coming into my mind is I kept thinking American Pop, and I loved American Pop. So I mean, that's not a knock in any way. Or
no. I can't tell you what his exact inspirations were artistically, but I do know that what he does, which is, I mean, honestly, Ludo is the true MVP of this because, I'm writing to inspire him, because if you've got a stallion, what you want to do is just direct him in the right way, the right angle, and let him do the work. He takes a script and he thinks about the theme, the time period, and he colors it and draws it based on that. Issue 2, he painted the entire issue 2 because we were sending her back to an ice age, and he didn't feel like if he drew it, it would feel cold enough, but if he painted it, it would.
I think that was my favorite issue.
That was a good one. I love the fact that of the first 3 issues, each one of them, while they don't, it's not like a drastic difference in the artwork, but they each have their own feel to it. They each have their own color palette, their own emotions come from each issue because of the way it's done. But it's definitely, you can tell it's done in this, it's all the same character. But the first one has that old timey feel with the paper background behind it. Second one's very white, very, very cold. Yeah. It's done. I loved it a lot. I was a huge fan of the way the stories progressed and the way the artwork was, portraying those stories.
And we also grew. This is both of our really both of our first book. Sorry, I work on other comics, and he had been working on other comics, but really, truthfully, putting a book together and getting it out to an audience, this is really our rookie effort. So I believe you can also see some growth for both of us, not just in the artwork, but in the writing.
It's a beautiful book, dude. You guys did a tremendous job, and I can't wait to see where it goes.
Oh, thank you. I think you're going to really dig issues 4 and 5, because we get to, issues 1, 2, and 3 are about meeting Tart. We want you to meet the lead character. Well, issue 4, it's like, well, she's not the only one. Let's introduce you to the other people she works with. And they're all kind of teenage girls, and they don't really trust each other, and that's fun to play with as a writer.
Yeah, that's really neat. Where was the inspiration to come up with the winter to spring like that?
That's where my Sandman influence came in. That that personification of abstract beings.
Yeah.
To be honest, when I finished issue 1, I knew that I wanted her to go immediately to one of 2 places. I either was going to drop her in a bathing suit in the middle of the ocean, or I was going to drop her into a snowdrift. And I asked Ludo which he wanted to do, and he said the snowdrift sounded exciting. Well, okay.
The way you've written her and the universe that you're creating, God, the sky's the limit on what you can make her do and where she can be. I love it.
It's so much fun to find life's mysteries, and
it's like you can't run out of ideas with her.
I hope I can't.
That's the goal.
Yeah. No, it's great. You name me an urban legend. You name me, a mythical creature. You name me a haunted area. Like,
what you should do? Here's an idea for you, Kevin, and take it as you want.
I will not confirm or deny if you say something we're doing, just so you know.
Yeah. No, the New Jersey man-eater that Jaws is made off of.
Okay, I can confirm that I don't know that story, so we're not doing it yet, but you can tell me.
You should read it. It's about because you've seen Jaws, obviously.
Yes.
And that's taking from the scene that happened in New Jersey almost 100 years ago, or maybe over 100 years ago now, where the shark literally swam up the waterway.
Oh, really?
And killed like 2 or 3 people on its way up a freshwater river.
So that was Benchley's inspiration, the real story?
Yeah.
Wow. I did not know.
Yeah, you should check it out. It would be really interesting because they obviously took a lot of liberties and completely changed it.
Right.
But that's where the inspiration came from.
Very interesting.
And, yeah. I mean, it's a part of history, and it's a cool part of the country, too. So it'd be an interesting thing.
Have Tart fight a shark.
Yeah. The Tart shark. I'm just saying. Have you read the books? Have you ever read the books The Incarnations of Immortality by Piers Anthony?
I have not. No. I know his.
Because that's what I thought of when you did Winter to Spring.
Oh, okay.
Because the whole concept of Incarnations is that the office of death and God and Satan and fate and time and war and all these are all offices held by mortal people, and that while they're in the office and making all these supernatural things run so that the mortal world can run correctly, they are immortal during that time.
Ooh, okay, that's very interesting.
Yeah. The first one is called On a Pale Horse, and it's about a guy that takes over the office of death, and you go with him from the beginning all the way until he's, a normal guy doing his thing, just running the office of death.
as you do.
But it was the personification of a service, or how do you say this? The personification of something ethereal.
The most interesting thing about that is, did Terry Pratchett read that? Did Neil Gaiman read that? Am I third, fourth, fifth, sixth generation of my inspirations doing things like that? And I couldn't tell you that. I
can almost guarantee you that Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett have both read Piers Anthony.
I think Neil Gaiman's read everything ever written.
Yeah, Piers Anthony was like really prolific in the 70s and the early 80s.
Oh, yeah.
And then he had a whole book series called the Xanth series, which is like it's kind of like Harry Potter before Harry Potter was ever thought of. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And it's it's just about a magical land. It was very much made for preteen girls.
Hey, I love stuff for preteen girls. I'm a big Robin McKinley
fan. You did a great job on it.
I'm a big Buffy fan, so.
Yeah, well, you'll fit right in with us.
Yeah, I love Buffy and Angel, man. Oh, I'm a huge fan of those shows.
So great.
Yeah, but seeing that spring to winter like that, or that winter to spring like that, really harkened back a lot of that kind of stuff. I loved it. I thought that was a great twist.
Well, I mean,
wasn't ready for it.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad you weren't ready for it, and I'm glad we could do it. I actually realized one cool thing about doing it on your own and not working for anybody else is, I think when we first clocked that story in at 20 pages, I think, and I read that conversation between Winter and Tart before the action that makes the transformation, and it was just so rushed. It was just, I as a writer knew where we were going, and it was just too rushed, and it was wrong. And because we do it ourselves, I was able to say to Ludo, I really think we need 2 more pages. And that conversation was able to spread out a little bit and flow. And if I worked for Dark Horse, I couldn't have done it. So it probably is better, for that story that we have that opportunity to expand or contract.
It's funny that you say Dark Horse, because we were talking about it, and what we're going to do is we did a review of it, and then we'll splice it in with us talking here.
Oh, that's great, because I listen to the podcast I'm on. At least this time I can pretend it's not, because I'm a total glory hound who wants to hear the sound of his own voice. So this is great. You give me plausible deniability. I love it.
Yeah, no problem. We're here for you, man. But it's funny that you bring up Dark Horse, because we were talking about the book, and we're like, man, this story, it's great that you guys are doing independent, because we love independent. That's where you find the new stuff. That's where you get the next big thing, or even something that you just love. Maybe it's never a big thing, but you love it so much, you support it, and you go through and you read them all, you know? But we just felt like this story is like, wow, man, this thing would go so well at Image or at Dark Horse or at, or Vertigo or any of those kind of companies that would, push it to that next level, because everything's there, man. Everything is there.
Our goal is to make a Vertigo level book.
Yeah.
And whether
whether
we put it out or someone picks us up, that I'm not. My joke is I want to be Stan Lee the writer, not Stan Lee the publisher. So if we found a
Stan Lee the marketer,
I mean, if you're a writer, you better be able to market. But I certainly would love it if someone who was smarter about the business side than me could come in. So if we find a group that sees the merit in having us and the merit in putting us next to, say, a Faith and Angel at Dark Horse or Vertigo or whatever the Image, whatever it is, we would. I wouldn't say no. I'd be ecstatic.
Yeah.
But my goal is to make a Vertigo or Image level book and let the chips fall where they may. And Dark Horse as well.
I love that you guys are independent. I think it's amazing. We talk about you guys now, and then we're just going to keep pushing it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think if your goal is to be that good as an Image or Vertical title, you're already there. Like your books, like I said, I really enjoyed it. And I finished reading it. I immediately sent to Casey, Kenric, you have to read this. Read it now. Here's the book. Read it.
That's exciting. That's great to hear.
It is. And I enjoy it. I do have a question for you though, that I was kind of wanting you to answer. And I know the answer already because I read it on your Twitter, but I kind of want you to go through the story. But the page in your book where it says "breaks over back on your head."
Oh.
Do you want to explain that?
Okay, so when I was a kid, we were working out in the yard, and I'm from South Florida, and even though it wasn't as hot then as it is now, it could hit 90. So we were out working. I think we were doing sod, if I can remember right. But it was a hot day, and we took a break. We ordered pizza. We got it in, and after we ate the pizza, my dad said, "Breaks over back on your head." And I just looked at him like, "What are you talking about?" So he told me this joke, and joke is the guy dies. He goes up to the pearly gates, and St. Peter looks at his record and goes, "This has never happened before." And the guy says, "Well, what do you mean?" He said, "You have neither lived a life good enough to ascend into heaven, nor evil enough to go to hell. I don't know what to do with you." And he goes, "Just hold here for one moment." He walks in, he walks back out. He says, "I spoke with the big guy, and he says that you can take a tour of the two places and that you can choose." And he says, "Okay." So they walk him into heaven. He walks in. Their streets of gold, but all the angels are down there with toothbrushes polishing the streets of gold, and they're backbreaking work to build the homes that they live in, and they're all sweating and dirty. And he kind of looks around heaven. He's like, "Okay, can I see hell?" He goes, "Sure." So St. Peter takes him down to hell, and it's just one big room. All of the souls are in the room. They're drinking beer, they're laughing, they're having a great time. The only problem is they're sitting up to their ankles, about their calves, in shit. The guy goes, "Well, I don't like the smell of shit, but this seems a lot more fun than heaven." He goes, "I'm going to stay here." St. Peter says, "No problem. I'll see you later." St. Peter disappears. Satan walks in. He goes, "All right, breaks over, back on your heads." So I wrote that punchline in the book, and I was like, this is a placeholder, and I never could come up with a better line, even though I knew no one would understand the joke. But it works.
I think it's great. I actually told that joke to my wife after the other night, and she's like, "That was a long ass joke, but rewarding at the end."
That's a good one. I like it.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. And what's funny is I actually read that your explanation on Twitter before I read the book. So when I got to that part in the book, I was like, "Oh, I know what that means."
You're the only person who's come into that caption with the backstory. That's funny.
I feel more enlightened because of that.
I certainly haven't met anybody who's heard that joke. I mean, my dad knows a lot of jokes, but that's the only one I've ever told that no one has ever heard so far.
My dad knew a lot of jokes too, and I never heard that one either. It's a good one though. Let's talk about cons, and I'm curious as a fellow creator myself. What's your takeaway of doing cons and promoting your book? How do you feel that does for you?
Exhausting and exhilarating, and can be tough on your wallet. But
yeah,
you gotta figure out which ones you can do, and you gotta do them. I think that if you're not hitting cons, you're missing a huge place to really make your mark with people. But boy, if you make the mistake and go to the wrong one with the wrong material, it can be soul breaking because you don't sell much, and boy, it can be wallet breaking too. So you have to be careful, but you have to do it.
Was San Diego this year your first West Coast con?
Yeah, first ever, and I want to get back to the West Coast, but talk about wallet breaking. I'm not sure that I could do that again without the. I don't know if in your review you told the people anything about how we got there.
I didn't, because I wanted you to tell that story.
We had we have mutual friends down here who've been there for about, gone to San Diego for about 3 or 4 years, and this year they couldn't swing the whole booth because San Diego is
It's not cheap.
expensive. Yeah, it's crazy expensive compared to expensive conventions, but
Right.
it's the biggest in the world. I'm not complaining about the value. I'm just telling a fact, So they said we'd really like someone to come help us with the expense, and then you'd get your chance to be there. And I thought about it for literally it took me about 2 days to come back and say yes, because it was such a big gamble monetarily.
Well, even
But
splitting it, you're still looking at a lot of money.
Splitting this table for half the booth was still more than I've ever paid for a booth.
Exactly.
Let me put it that way. So for an entire booth at New York Comic Con, which is, either the second or the biggest compared, how you want to do the math,
Right.
is still less than half of a booth at San Diego. But it's also San Diego, So
Exactly. It's
I
Mecca.
thought about
It's
it,
comic
and
Mecca.
yeah, it is. It was great. It was great to go. Don't get me wrong. I'm you can hear my voice. I still can't talk from it, but I'm glad I went. But we did a Kickstarter to print a new issue 1 because Tart has always been the trade paperback with the first 3 issues. And I run into sometimes that $12 entry point at a convention being just too high. And
Right.
so I really wanted a $4 entry point. Like, if you're a little interested, give me $4 and see if you like it. And if you're pretty interested, give me $12 and read the first 3 issues. And I'm pretty sure you're going to fall in love. I think I can get
Right.
you infatuated with issue 1, and I think you can fall in love with the trade paperback.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that issue 1, man, it just rips you right from the beginning. Goes.
oh, nice. I'm glad to hear that,
There's
because
no you know what I mean? There's nothing there's no build up. It's just let's kick some ass and go right now. I loved it.
I like books that respect me as a reader. So that's how I try to do my stories. I try to just kind of trust that you're gonna catch on to what we're doing. And so far, that's what I've found. If
Yeah.
you trust the reader, they'll make it work for you.
Yeah, it's much
Yeah.
better than spending 4 pages explaining every little nuance of your story before you even get into the story, which some people do, and it's like, come on, just get into the story. I just want to get into the good stuff.
Unfortunately, I found sometimes with indie books, if you open it up and the inside front cover is 8 paragraphs,
Yeah.
I've
Don't do
pretty
that.
much learned that's it. Nine times out of 10, it's probably not going to be a book that I like, because they didn't trust me to find it in the story.
Right.
Yeah.
But that 1 time out of 10, it might be amazing. So I still try to read it, but
Yeah, take it as it is. But yeah, you're right. If the first couple pages are just tons of paragraphs, it's going to be too much of an investment to try and get past, because they don't trust you as a reader, and you have to. I don't want to be a baby when I read. I want to read and figure stuff out, because the whole joy of reading something new is, oh, I figured this out, or oh, that's cool, as it comes along.
And my favorite books, I read over and over and over again. And if there's something you didn't catch the first time, it's more rewarding if you catch it the second, third.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've read American Gods like 6 or 7 times now. Each time I find something new.
Oh, I bet with that book, geez.
Yeah, that's such a good book.
So I don't know, but anyway, we did the Kickstarter, and that it gave us those books, and it gave me, our Kickstarter backers bought me like 175 issues that I could just give away. So I went there
That's awesome.
with 175 issues technically bought. So that kind of covered my booth. And then, we made a little, so then it's just airfare and hotel, which is still a lot, but with the sales at the con, you cover the airfare, and then, okay, you're out the hotel, but okay, so you paid
But the promotion,
$800 to
the people
go
who
to
see you
San
there.
Diego Comic-Con. I mean, that's not
Right.
bad.
No, it's not. And being at San Diego, people see you. There's a huge, a lot of traffic, so your name gets out there too, which is really nice.
It was. I don't regret going at all. I mean, we'll have to see with this next Kickstarter whether or not we can afford to go back next year. But if we make the jump, we've been making about $6,000 to $7,000 a Kickstarter, which is wonderful, and I'd be ecstatic with $3,000 to print the book. So don't get me wrong,
Right.
$6,000 is great. But if we make the jump from 6 to 10 or 12, I'll know I've got to go back to San Diego because it paid off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we hope you go because we're going to be there.
Yeah, we'll be there next year.
I cannot wait. But if we can't make it back to San Diego, we'll have to try to find another West Coast. I don't know if I said on the podcast when we talked, but I have one of my best friends just moved to Seattle, so I have a couch to sleep on for free. Well, that takes a huge expense away from Emerald City.
Yeah.
But I think I've already missed the cutoff for next year, so it'd have to be 2019, I think.
Yeah, Emerald City is a great one, though.
Oh, I've heard
it's
nothing.
good.
Yeah, Emerald City is a good one. They support the artists.
I've heard nothing but great
City
things. Like everybody. C2E2 and Emerald City are the two shows I hear the most positive buzz about from creators.
Yep.
That's cool. So you got anything else in the works?
Issue 6 is coming out in September, so that's where my real focus is. I have also other books. We've got a goofball comedy called Underwars, which is, rad scientist takes a monkey and throws him in men's tighty whities, and the monkey can immediately talk because comics.
And it's a volleyball bulge in his pants.
So now you know why we called the company Catch All Comics, because I had Tart and Underwars and no way to bridge the two of them. So, and I'm really excited. I don't know if you guys know the artist Sean Langley. Have you run into him on Twitter at all?
I have not. No.
Oh, tremendous talent and about the nicest person in all of comics. Like, it makes Scott Snyder look like a dickhead. This guy is so nice, And he had a break between book he's doing with a writer named Josh Dahl I met a couple years back. The book's called Rapid City, and I really recommend you check it out because that's a good one. It's their book is a city of superheroes, and he only follows the bad guys. So it's kind of a fun little take. It's a good little book. But Sean is great up and coming artist too. His pinups with Copic markers are extraordinarily beautiful. They had a break, and I was like, I've had this horror western called The Hole in the Sky sitting on my desktop. Ran through 2 artists that didn't work out, just waiting for someone to bring it life. And Sean has drawn the first issue, and he and I need to get together and really map out what the miniseries would be, because this one was just a 4 or 5 issue.
Do you know what his Twitter handle is?
I think it's Sean_Langley. I'll send it to you after the show, whatever it is. Great guy.
Well, we'll keep a lookout for that. That sounds amazing.
Just look for his Swamp Thing. It's the most amazing Swamp Thing. It's just beautiful.
Oh, I love Swamp Thing.
Bernie Wrightson was one of my favorites.
Oh,
well, still is one of my favorites.
You know what? There's in an industry that has people of extraordinary talent, Bernie Wrightson just was leaps and bounds ahead of everyone else. Like, his work.
I think of him and Frank Frazetta as the two that was just ridiculous.
Yeah. Because when Bernie died, I wanted to find an image, the best image I could. It took me 30 minutes of going through to finally just choose one, not because it was the best, but because I couldn't look through more that were any more beautiful. Like, it was.
I know what you're saying. I'm 43, and I remember when he came out with the baseball card set of all Frankenstein and then all the different horror images that he did. And I had that complete set, and it was just, that's what made me fall in love with him. And that and the movie Heavy Metal.
Oh, did he work on that?
Oh yeah, well, Captain Stern is all Bernie Wrightson.
Okay.
And then the whole World War II scene where the fighters become zombies.
Yeah. Oh God. I mean, I think I saw it when I was like 8 on HBO, and I really had no clue what I was watching.
Now that you know that he's worked on it, go back and look, and you'd be like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that movie is amazing. I remember watching it in high school. I'm like, whoa, this is the animation's a style, and love it.
Well, but that movie and that baseball card set that he did made me love. And this is, so I was 13, so it was like 1987, I think, when he came out with it, 88, when he came out with the baseball set, and it was just amazing. I mean, it was all like his version of Frankenstein, and then a bunch of like the Wolfman and just a bunch of stuff, man. It just looked amazing. Then, when I got a little older, I found out that he did Swamp Thing, which I didn't know. So then, of course, I had to go back and read a bunch of old Swamp Thing.
You had to.
Just to see his art, yeah. Yeah,
Swamp
and
Things
then
were
to
so
see
great.
some of his Batman stuff was ridiculous. And I was really kicking myself in the ass about 2 years ago. I went on eBay and I'm like, I want to get an original drawn Bernie Wrightson, because he's not going to be around much longer, and I want something that's his, because I'm a collector, right? So if I get something, I don't sell it.
Right. Yeah.
It stays. It stays with me forever.
I like to think I'm an investor and that I can't sell anything, so I'm more of a hoarder. But I appreciate exactly what you say.
Well, sometimes I'm like, oh, I can get this now, and if I wait a couple years, it should be at this, and then I'll sell it, and then I'll wait that couple years, and like Saga #1, I bought that for like $3. They had it graded 9.8, and now it's selling for like $400 when it's graded, or $500 or whatever. And it's like, I keep telling Johnny, dude, I should sell that, and then we could upgrade some equipment. Mm-hmm. And then I look at the book, and I'm like, I can't sell this. And it happens every time. But what I was trying to say is, I went back and I found this. Somebody on eBay was selling a hand drawn, just almost on a like printer paper, of Bernie Wrightson drawing Batman, and it looked.
I bet
amazing.
It was more beautiful than 90% of the artists sitting at their draft table.
Oh, the cow had long ears pointed way out, and it just looked amazing. And the guy wanted $700, and I was like, oh, man, I just didn't have that kind of cash to spend on it. And
that'd be so cool to have on your wall.
I totally understand. I understand wanting it and not being able to pull the trigger at $700.
I still stand by the fact that House of Secrets 92, that first picture Swamp Thing cover, is one of the best covers I've ever seen in my life.
Can you kind of say which one it is? I don't know if I've seen it or not.
It's the first print of Swamp Thing. It's where he has the girl in the front combing her hair in the mirror, and Swamp Thing's coming up behind her.
You know who the model of that girl was?
Guess his wife? I don't know.
Nope.
No, it's Walt Simonson's wife.
Louise Simonson is the model.
Yeah.
That's neat.
I think Johnny told me that.
So what you're saying is I have two sources saying this is true, but they heard it from each other. So when I pass the story off and someone goes, no, it wasn't.
That's exactly right.
You can Google it and find out that it was her. I promise.
I think the most amazing story about Swamp Thing is that Len Wein lived in the same apartment with one of the creators, I think the writer, but I don't know, and created Man-Thing at the same time, and they didn't talk about it.
Oh, that's
two creators of Man-Thing and Swamp Thing lived together, created their own different characters that look very similar for two different companies.
What do you bet they were reading the same books and watching the same movies?
Yeah.
Or that apartment was haunted by some kind of weird vegetable.
You're in a swamp. I'm a thing.
Swamp Thing, Man Thing. Well,
it looks like a man.
one of those characters is really good, and one of them is kind of So I don't know. I was never a Man Thing fan. I always loved Swamp Thing though.
But Man Thing came out like a month before, right?
I think Man Thing came out after.
No, I think it's the other way around.
I can't be the tiebreaker. I only know that I heard Len Wein talking about creating it, so I don't remember which one came first.
Kevin, I take it you read a lot of comic books, or do you kind of ferret your way through them, or what?
You know what? I think ferreting my way through them is the best way to say it. I'm not a Wednesday Warrior anymore. I've done that at different times in my life and loved it. I stopped when my daughter was my daughter's 8.5 now. I stopped going every Wednesday and picking up 4 to 8 books when she was about 1. Because I realized I hadn't read any of those books for that year. I had 3-foot tall pile of comics I hadn't read, and I was like, "This is not
once you get
good."
behind, you can't go back in. It's too much.
And I was like, I don't even know if any of these are good. I'm still buying them. I don't know if they're good. All the creative teams have changed, and so now it's real. If something really interesting, like I picked up the Vision books, and I have the first 4 Vision books because I heard it was good. And guess what? They're sitting on my table, and I haven't read them.
I have the same thing. I've heard those were great. I haven't read them yet, though.
You know what you should check out if you get a chance and you have time, which you probably don't because it sounds like you're a busy man. But just one aisle past you was Stephen Franks, and he was the animating supervisor on Iron Giant, and then he worked on the Smurfs.
Oh, wow.
And he came out with he has his own publication, just like you, called Dark Planet Comics. I think it's just Dark Planet.
Yeah, Dark Planet Comics.
Yeah, and he's got a book. He's working on volume 3 called Silver.
Oh,
and
I brought Silver home.
Read it.
Good.
I have
That's a fun read.
I have volume 1. I brought it home because he seems like a nice guy, and I've seen him at New York every year, and that huge banner has spoken to me every time. That beautiful banner of the white face and the dark hair and kind of the death from Sandman look of it. Yep. And I went over and I talked to him, and I was going to buy it, and we talked, and I traded him Tart, because I believe he's French, just like my artist Ludovic. So I said, look, I'd really rather you took one of your countrymen's books, so I do have it. I have not read it yet, but boy, it looks so gorgeous.
I think you're gonna like it. If you get a chance to read it, definitely do it, because it was a surprise for us, because when we walked into San Diego Comic-Con, so that was my first year being at that con.
Me too.
I've gone to Emerald City a few times, but that was my first. And when we walked in, that was the first booth that I came to, and I walked away spending $60. But all 3 volumes, I was just like... But the cool thing is he's going to come on our show in September.
Oh, God bless him.
So that's going to be cool.
Cool. He was a really nice guy. His book looks great. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I think you're going to enjoy it. I think you're going to really enjoy it. And he writes and draws that whole thing.
It's amazing.
So impressive.
I couldn't put it down. Yeah. It was just like your book. I couldn't put it down.
Yeah.
I mean, he worked on Iron Giant, so he probably doesn't know anything about telling a story.
Or nothing. Funny story, though, Kevin. I emailed you before Comic-Con asking, hey, if you wanted to meet up to do an interview at the show. And he's like, yeah, we tried to hook up. And you told me your booth number and stuff. And that was the first place we went. And I went back to a couple rows down from even Frank was Doug from Arsenic Lullaby, who I went back to his booth a couple of times. Didn't find your booth until Sunday, though, which was one aisle over.
It's so big.
It's so many people.
It's so easy to get lost there. I learned my first New York Comic Con. You tell people where you'll be and you try to meet up. But if it doesn't work, you don't get upset, because these things are too big. The first New York Comic Con, I thought I was going to meet somebody, and I didn't, and I was really miffed. And then I thought about it, and I was like, this is too big, man. Don't worry about it, because you always miss people. I have been a fan of Fabian Ranger's books for years, and follow him on Twitter. He's such a nice guy. He was with Eric Powell, I believe, Thursday and Friday. I didn't know, but he was there until Sunday.
Oh, jeez.
And Sunday, he was off at another con. So I did it. I was 18 feet away from someone I wanted to meet.
That's hilarious.
Just missed him.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So you just deal with it, and you go, okay, it's cool.
What has he been working on?
Did you see Nam Wolf?
Yeah, I bought all of them. I have
that's
all
his
those.
new book, Nam Wolf.
Oh, see, I wanted to get that's the guy I wanted to meet to get his to get him. Those.
He was off on Sunday to another show. I have issue 1 again. Haven't read it, but
oh yeah,
but
so hard. There's so many good books out there I want to read.
Yeah, there's a lot of good books, and you know what, Kevin? I think for my money, the writing just seems to be getting better. That kind of we always talk about the '90s as kind of a throwaway decade when it comes to comic books, because they just really concentrated on splash pages more than the writing itself. And now they've really started to meld those two together like they were in the 70s and 80s. And,
I agree. I agree that the writing in comics right now is extraordinary.
Yeah, it just seems like people are starting to finally figure out, not only is it a great playground for people to pick out movies, but it's just a great literary playground to find something that you don't even know you'd be interested in.
Well, yeah, we mentioned Eric Powell. I mean, The Goon is a great read. It's a great read. I mean, have
you read Hillbilly?
I have not read Hillbilly.
That's another good one. And then didn't he do Little Big Man? Have you read that?
I've only read The Goon of his, and I've only read probably the first 5 or 6 volumes. So I haven't read the entire thing.
Little Big Man is about a midget or a little person. I don't know, whatever is politically correct. A little person.
Tyrion Lannister. I know what you're saying.
A Tyrion Lannister. And the thing is Tyrion Lannister, the guy, what's his name? The actor? I can't remember his name right now. Anyways, this guy would be perfect for this role, because I think Eric Powell did this book specifically for this. But it's about a little guy that comes back from Vietnam War, and he just goes on a revenge killing spree, and it is horrendous and beautiful at the same time, because it's just
not to correct you, Kenric, but the book's called Big Man Plans.
Big Man Plans. That's right. Not Little Big Man. Big Man Plans, and it is hilarious in a in an ironic kind of way. You know what I mean?
Oh, I think that's just what Eric does. You know, he's a silly man who writes awesome comics and is a better artist.
I love it.
Well, and the guy, the looking at the picture here, Peter Dinklage, who plays Tyrion Lannister on Game of Thrones, looks a lot like the guy on the cover of the book.
I think that's on purpose.
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt that, you know, Eric's got enough feet in the fire or hands in the fire or whatever you'd say. He may have met him and they may have a handshake deal. We were talking about Peter. Thank you for mentioning his name, because I was like, oh, God damn it, I love it.
Yeah, it was driving me nuts. Yeah, thanks.
He was, I mean, I saw him in, you know, Elf and the Colin Farrell movie.
Oh my God, he was so funny.
Oh, so great. In Bruges, or I always say the name wrong.
Oh yeah,
He was.
Yeah, in Bruges. Yeah, that's a good one. Was he in that?
Yes, he's a genius. He's so good. He is not a good actor for a little person. He is a great actor who happens to be, and
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's a perfect.
and
way
that's
to put
why
it.
Game of Thrones is so good, because Tyrion is written so well, and you have an actor who can nail it. You know, it's
he is so good.
He
in
just has
show.
that presence. You know, he just has a huge presence on screen. When he's on screen, it's like even in the movie, even in Pixels, which is, you know, whatever about it, he was good.
I love Adam Sandler, but I have not. I get to his movies. Let's put it that way. I get to his movies. And I haven't gotten to Pixels. And the great thing about Adam Sandler is half the time you're like, this movie was awesome. The one he did with the Andy Samberg, where Andy Samberg was his son. My wife and we almost fell off the couch the entire time. We're like, this is the funniest movie I've seen in years. And it made like $9.
He did that Netflix movie with David Spade, which went nowhere, but I actually thought it was really good. The Do-Over or whatever it was.
I
It was
don't
actually
have
pretty
Netflix,
funny.
so I missed
Oh, yeah,
all
he's
of
got a deal with Netflix. They paid him like $50 million to do like 3 movies or 4 movies.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I'll do it. I don't care.
Like, sure.
Yeah, we're in the wrong.
Have you heard of the
business.
podcast, The Worst Idea Ever?
No.
Good.
It is 2 dudes from New Zealand, and they review Grown Ups 2 every week for a year. They force themselves to watch Grown Ups 2. They never watched Grown Up 1, by the way.
Oh my
It
God.
is-
That
it
is genius.
And the next year they went on to what was the Sex and the City movie, the second one. Just they're
God.
both stand-up comedians. They're both hilarious, and the podcast is phenomenal because in about the 8th week, like the one guy's like almost on suicide watch. He's like, I don't want to do this anymore. He's like, oh nope, we got to. No, please, let's change this. Nope, we're gonna do it.
I'm going to find that
It's
one. That sounds
required
hilarious.
listening.
Oh my God, the worst idea ever. I am totally downloading that.
It's brilliant. They're great. So fun.
So, what do you think Hole in the Sky is going to be available? You think you're like another 2 years
Oh
off?
gosh, well, you know, I've got to talk with Sean and get the real, like, I know where I think it's gonna go, but I really wanted an artist on it. You know, I hate to be like, you're gonna do this, that, and the other thing. I want to be like, all right, here are my 9 ideas. What are the 5 that really turn you on? You know, so.
Yeah.
You know, he knocked this out in, 2.5 months. So that's pretty darn good in the indie time frame, and the pages are beautiful. So I'm hoping that will be out next year, but let's see, we're in 2017, 2018. 2019. I will have a one-shot called Morte out at the end of the year, but the publisher has not announced it, so I can't announce who it's coming out with yet. It is a day in the life of the last man on Earth, and the artist on that is David Bishop. He's a Canadian artist. I don't know if you know David, but he's at Renerd on Twitter, and he knocked the hell out of that book too. And what I'm excited about that book is it's a one-shot, it's one and done, and the entire narration and dialogue consists of one letter.
What?
Interesting.
That's interesting.
Well, when it comes out, you have to come back on and talk about it. That
It's
sounds
very difficult to talk about a book with 0 dialogue and 0 narration. Well, not zero,
Yeah.
one letter.
Yeah.
Like our joke was one word, and then we realized it was a one-letter word. So you can guess what the word is. There's only 5 possibilities.
Yeah, yeah. That's hilarious.
I wrote it with no narration. But or with no dialogue. But David felt there was one panel that he wanted a word, and I was like, if you know what, I'm not gonna. If you're into this, this is your world too. So let's do it. So technically, I didn't even write the one word that's in it, which is funny.
That's hard to do as a writer.
Did you have narration through it?
There's no narration, no dialogue.
Wow.
Yeah, that's hard to do as a writer, to write a story and tell a story, and then for the artist to translate that to pictures that actually make sense.
Oh,
that's impressive.
Well, you'll have to read it first to find out. We might have just done gobbledygook that sucks, but we think it's good.
I think it's good.
That's what matters. That's what matters. You think it's good, it's good.
Yeah. He nailed it. He nailed it. I came up with the idea flying home from New York Comic Con a couple years back. My artist and his girlfriend stayed like 2 days to see New York, so it was like one of those things where I flew up with people and I flew back alone, and you're in this like fugue state, sitting on a plane, that tired.
Oh yeah, just in a stupor.
Yeah, and I was reading New Scientist, and just something hit me, and I had something, and I just started drawing it out, and it is the story of the last man on Earth, and it's a story where the whatever happened, you may find out what happened, you may not in the story. The dead bodies are left, so he's surrounded by the corpses, and I was like, there was no place for him to talk. There was no place for him to say anything. So and then I got like probably 14 pages in, and I realized, ooh, let me see if I can finish this. You know what I mean? I didn't set out to do it, but I realized halfway through what I had done, and I was like, well, now it's a challenge. So
right, challenge accepted.
And I wrote David because I needed a very specific style of art for this, and David knows how to draw the grotesque beautifully, if that makes sense. Ooh. And I sent him an email. I knew him a little bit, and I was just like, okay, first of all, you have to do all the work on this. Second of all, we can't market it because there's no dialogue. Third of all, he said I put like 9 bad things, and then the 10th. Okay, so now that I've got all the bad stuff out of the way, this is why I think we should do it. And he wrote me back like 3 days later, and he just said, I can't get that fucking story out of my head. I got to do it. And he's a college student. He's going back to school for nursing, and he woke up at 4:15 every day and drew at least a panel every day for almost a year to do the book.
Wow.
Yeah, I want to read that. Or look at that.
Wow, now we kind of have it just from just that right there. Check it out.
If I have a career in this industry, it's because I have found great artists who are passionate about the books we work on. That's it.
That's cool.
Good.
But it sounds like you like to write stories that bring out the passion in the artist. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Making money in this is not easy enough for it to be the goal.
Right.
Yeah, you're in the wrong business.
Yeah.
If that's what you want.
I think maybe if it were the 90s and it were real simple to make money. Yeah. If it were easy to make money, I can't say that I'm a noble person. I might be doing the easy thing, but it's not easy to make money. So
right.
why don't we try to make books that we at least have never seen before, so that when someone reads it, it's the first time they've ever read the story. So that's my goal.
Yeah, that's cool. Inspiration, that's the word I was looking for. And I said passion, but I meant it sounds like your writing really inspired your artist, which is really cool. Really cool.
It's
really good.
It's how this thing works. I mean, I can't draw, so I have to find people who are as passionate as I am, and then give them something worth their time.
Hey, now I've seen your drawings come through on the newsletter and on Twitter. All right.
So I can't draw.
Yeah, so I can attest you can't draw. We're good.
Did Johnny tell you about his book that he's working on?
Yeah, I'm very excited. I saw a couple images, and I've got to get on his webcomic.
Yeah, the webcomic's nothing like the book I'm working on, just so we're clear. The webcomic's full of Dick and Fart jokes and Kevin Smith jokes and inappropriateness.
I write a comic called Underwars. I'm going to love
this
that.
Is true. You'll fit right in, man. You'll love it.
Yeah, he's got a guy that jerks off in almost every panel.
God.
Well, in the first like 100 comics, yeah, there's always a guy who has a pink blanket. He's always doing his business.
Dude, I'm gonna sue you. You can't put me in a comic without me signing any contracts. Come on, dude.
I thought you knew.
I thought he was drawing me in there, but
when it comes down to it,
it's all Kevin.
that is a way to put somebody in a comic without worrying about getting sued, because no one, if they realize it's them, is going to sue you. There's
Exactly.
no like, I was the masturbator.
What's funny is that comic strip is actually based on my friends, and the guy who that's based on was like, "Oh, that's cool, do it."
As long as he's your friend and not your roommate, that's okay. If he's your roommate, you gotta walk around with some
You got issues.
Clorox.
Don't touch any socks.
Well, that whole joke came because the friend of mine, he would go walk around to like parties and like go to shows with a blanket over his shoulders all the time. So he always had a blanket on him. And so I just took it one step further and made his blanket his masturbating blanket.
I mean, everybody needs one.
Yeah,
I'm not
right.
gonna judge.
Surprised you didn't call him Linus.
Right.
Well, and when we first started Underwars, I didn't know if we were making an after-school type comic or an Adult Swim type comic. So, my artist is you met Chris there, the long-haired guy, is the artist, and he's co-writer, and so he'd want to put in some pretty deranged stuff, and I'd always like, hold it out. We don't really know what our audience is yet, so we go to these shows with kind of weird comic, but it's fine. It's PG at its worst. But my artist draws the monkey's package very three-dimensionally. Like, he'll hang it over the panels. And,
Yes, he
and
does.
so we have this big banner of this monkey, this huge package. And I don't really think much of it, because I've seen it so much it doesn't even register to me. And I see these 10, 11, 12-year-old kids walk by, and I think I'm going to sell them a comic.
Oh,
And their eyes are like saucers looking at the monkey's package. And I swear to you, they actually slowly step away from the booth to get away from that fucking monkey. And so as soon as I saw that, I turned to Chris and I said, okay, it's Adult Swim. We're not safe anymore. Go for it. So he's like, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, so we put it in. And we told the story to someone. They said, well, there's no full, anal penetration. And Chris goes, well, actually. In issue 2, the monkey gets thrown out of a window and he lands on a kid, and the kid's head goes straight up the monkey's ass. So he's like, actually, we do have full anal penetration. It's not the kind you're thinking about, but we've got it.
Well, that could happen, all right? You don't know.
Physically, as I understand physics, it absolutely can happen.
Exactly. In a world with a talking monkey and a big package like that, it can happen.
We always say it's comics and it's science as we understand science.
Exactly. Which may not be the right way, but whatever.
I've watched Bugs Bunny. If I don't study gravity, I can.
Don't look down, you won't fall.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
See, there's Kevin perverting kids' minds one con at a time.
We don't even try for kids anymore. It's just 15 and older. 15 and older.
I got to read that. I haven't read that. That sounds hilarious.
Fun. It's fun. It's definitely different.
I have the PDF of the first issue. I'll send you to read. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, you should.
I'll try to get you the PDF of issue 2 as well. That's what we have. We don't have issue 3 or 4, but it gets worse as it goes. There's actually the first.
That's a good endorsement. It gets worse as it goes. Just stick with it.
That's
really
good.
Bad.
That's great. That's your tagline right there. It gets worse as it goes.
Well, I don't know if you remember the cover of Underwars. It actually has an asterisk, and it says all new, somewhat different with an asterisk. And at the bottom it says, including 5 pages we didn't think of before. Because when we first did it, I don't know how it happened, but we came up with, the story that I thought was 18 pages. And we needed it done at a certain point, and Chris showed up, and he had 13 pages drawn, and it ended. And I was like, what happened to the other pages? He's like, no, this is what we got. And I'm like, what do you mean? So our first comic was 13 pages long. And so I was selling them for $3. He's like, I can't sell a 13-page story for $4. It just doesn't feel right. And then when we knew kids didn't like it, we came up with 5 pages that we could fit into the story And if you see something bad in the issue, they're in those 5 pages, because we're like, now we need to throw in the dick and fart jokes, So
Perfect.
Make his package bigger.
If you think of indie comics as punk rock, Tart is my Clash, and Underwars is my Sex Pistols, because it's, or even maybe even Ramones. It's just like balls to the wall, whatever. It's
just dirty.
It's just dirty. It's definitely only 3 chords, but we have a blast doing it.
Right. That's good.
That's awesome.
That's good.
Well, I think it's about that time. We've exhausted quite a bit of time here today. It's been amazing. Thanks for coming on today, Kevin. We really appreciate it. Hey, listen, we're small, but we're growing, and we're trying our hardest to get out there even more. You're always welcome to come on anytime you want. Talk about anything you have going on, or just if you just want to get out there and just hang out and bullshit.
Well, I guess before I go, I'll just tell if people are, I don't know if you said it in the early thing, if Tart interests them, they can read all 5 issues for free. All they got to do is go to www.kechalcomics.com/read-tart, and I'll email them all 5 issues. And not because I'm a nice guy, because I think if they love them, they might support this Kickstarter in September. And I'm like the guy in the playground handing out pills. I hope they get addicted.
I love it. How do they get to the Kickstarter?
You know what? There's no URL until I hit send. So if they're on our email list, they will find out, I promise.
And they can go to catchallcomics.com to subscribe to your email list?
The catchallcomics.com/read-tart is the best way to do it.
That signs you up.
John went on my website, and it's a website in that it exists, but in that it works well, I'm not going to say so much.
Yeah, if you go there, the link he said, sign up for the email list, and then you'll get a copy of the first 5 issues to read. And that'll put you on the list to get for the Kickstarter when it comes out, which is what you want to do, because you want to read this. Trust me, you do. Also, we're going to give... So, Kevin and Tennille, you gave us a copy of the trade that we're going to give away.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Well, what we're going to do is, anybody listening who hears this, just tweet at us with hashtag #SCTart, and we'll put those all into randomizer, and we'll pick somebody, and we'll mail this copy of the book. It's it's signed, and it's fresh from Kevin. We picked up at San Diego, and we'll give it to you to read too.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Spread the love.
Exactly.
Spread the love. That's right. Well, thanks for joining us today. That's Kevin Joseph. Check out Catchall Comics /read Tart. Check out Tart Acid. She's an amazing character. You're going to love her.
And tweet at us with hashtag #SCTart to enter the contest.
Yes, SCTart. Enter the contest at hashtag #SCTart. Get that free copy signed by Kevin Joseph.
Can I enter? Because I'd love to get a signed copy.
If you want to, go right ahead. Tell you what, if you enter and win, we'll sign it for you too, okay?
I do want to say, but I know you guys are just one cute story. I had my first comics at my first local comic shop, CJ's Comics, down here in my hometown, Oakland Park, Florida, which is basically just Fort Lauderdale. And I walk in, and the owner goes, "Hey, I sold some of your books." I said, "Yeah, it's great." He goes, "Yeah, your mom came in. She wanted to buy them because they were signed."
You know what? That's hilarious, because about a year ago, I did a charity auction for some art. I did some artwork for another podcast. They auctioned off for charity, and my mom bought it.
It's adorable.
She outbid other people on eBay so she could win it. And I'm like, "Mom, I'll just draw it for you."
You know what? It's so wonderful and beautiful and adorable and cute, but they just don't get how you're like, I'll sign your book, Mom.
That's true support, though. You know what I mean?
I love that story because I love my mom, and she's a wonderful woman. And your mom sounds pretty cool.
I know I'm special because my mom tells me so.
That's right.
Moms are awesome. I love my mom. She's great.
Okay, I think with that, we are out. That is an amazing time. Thanks, Kevin, for joining us. Hope to talk to you very soon. Good luck on Tart. Good luck on Hole in the Sky. And good luck on De Morte. Is that right? De Morte?
Just Morte, but if you want to say De Morte, I'm happy with it.
No, just Morte.
You know,
good luck on Morte.
There's no dialogue. We should make the title like 75 words.
There you go.
This book is about
perfect. Like the Fiona Apple album, "When the Pond" is like a huge. Yeah. All right. Thank you for listening.